I'm going to show you how you can speak articulately under pressure. This was a big issue for me. Every time I stepped on stage, I was speaking to an audience, new groups of people that I'd never met before. All of a sudden, I felt like I would either blank out, I didn't know what to say, all of the stuff that I worked really hard to memorize, I would no longer remember. And the moment I'm off stage and I go back home, it all comes back to me. And it was terrifying because every time I would step on stage, I could never trust myself. I never knew if I would go and perform, if I would be on that day. So today I'm going to teach you some of the tips that I've learned from sports psychologists who work with Olympic level athletes to solve exactly this problem so you can speak articulately under the pressure as well. Now today we're going to learn about the brain and how it functions before we talk about speaking. I want you to imagine the brain has two main components. One of the components of the brain is the conscious side. The conscious side is responsible for analysis, it's responsible for planning, learning, and practicing. So for example, when you are learning for a test or you're putting your slides together, you're arranging the design of the slides and you're putting information on there, you're using your conscious brain because you're trying to be creative. Now the thing with the conscious brain is it's very evaluative. It looks at all of these different parts, it compares and contrasts, and it's very slow. It takes a lot of time. So every time you're learning something consciously, like learning, it takes a while, but you're in your conscious brain. Now the second part of your brain is the automatic part of the brain. The automatic part of the brain is when you just do things because you've done them many times. Here's an example. If I asked you to walk down the street, I would imagine you wouldn't really have any problem walking down the street because you know how to walk. So what your body will do, it will automatically connect both of your legs, it will connect your arms, it will connect your head and your body, and it will synchronize their motion so that you can walk. Now, imagine this. Instead, I asked you, hey, when you walk down the street, I want you to make sure your legs have at least a 1 foot gap between them. I want to make sure your right hand and left leg are synchronized, your left hand and your right leg are synchronized, your chin is up, your eyes are here, your shoulders are back, and your chest is up. Make sure to remember all of those things. Now go walk down the street. Are you going to walk any better? No, you're going to walk much worse because now you're in your conscious brain and not the automatic brain. You're evaluating everything. You're looking at every individual part and making it perfect. The conscious brain is terrible at doing this. It's terrible at multitasking. The automatic brain is perfect. It is exactly what you need when you're trying to do many things at the same time. So how do we use that to become an articulate speaker under pressure? Let's talk about how people prepare and what the issue is. Many people who step on stage, they are underprepared, meaning they're operating from their conscious brain. Right before the presentation, they're going through slides or they're putting the slides together. Right before, they're thinking, oh, I hope this goes well. Oh, my boss is there. I hope I do well to impress him. I hope I remember what's on slide 17. We're very conscious. You know you're in your conscious brain when you are thinking, when you have dialogue and imagery. You're not in flow state, you're in analytical state, and that is not where you want to be. So imagine when you're on stage now and you're giving yourself instructions. Instead of just focusing on speaking, you're saying, slow down, talk louder, do this with your hands, go to this slide, make sure to look at this person, make sure to look at that person. Because your brain has so much information, it can't do what it already knows how to do. Think of your brain like having limited storage. Let's say your brain has 100 GB of storage. When you practice, you have 100 GB of storage full. Now you show up to the event where you have to speak, you start to feel pressure. What are they thinking? I hope I do well. Why are there so many people here? I don't have enough water. Why am I shaking? Now your brain says, hey, we only have 100 GB. We don't have space to think about all of these extra things. Let's delete some information so now we can accommodate all of these new worries. This is why when you prepared a lot and then you step on stage, you blank out or you forget. You don't know what words to say and you just can't articulate your thoughts correctly. This happens because your brain has now shifted focus. It's shifted focus on new information, new stimuli on the environment. So one of the critical skills that I had to develop was the skill of focus, making sure that I do not focus on the things that I can't control. If my mind starts to analyze, if my mind starts to criticize, and it starts to give me instructions, I know I'm in the wrong part of the brain. It needs to be automatic. Now, because most people just don't prepare, they have to do everything consciously because their brain just doesn't know what they're going to talk about. Imagine you step on stage and you haven't rehearsed the presentation at all. You can't speak from the automatic brain because you just haven't done enough repetition or rehearsals to know the material. One of the biggest flaws when people are preparing for a presentation, they just don't rehearse it out loud. There's a very big difference between preparing and practicing. Most people might prepare, but they almost never practice. Think about the last time you went to an interview or you did a speech. How many times did you say the words out loud? If it is anything under 10, it is not enough. So now you know why you cannot articulate yourself, why you blank out. It's simply because the brain just does not have the capability of focusing on so many things. So how do you develop focus? Now, it's very important to remember right before or during a presentation or when you're speaking to an audience, it's critical for you to relax. It's critical for you to give yourself something to focus on that will help you. Because if you are focusing on, I hope this goes well, I hope I get the sale, I hope my manager likes it, you're already in the analytical mind and your body cannot function. Remember, you have to be in the automatic brain for all of the systems in your brain to come together. If you are in your conscious brain, you're doing one thing at a time, it's very slow, you will forget. So you need to give yourself one single focus that will keep the conscious mind busy, and you can just allow yourself to speak from flow. When you think about when you're in a conversation with your friends or when you're having a great time, are you ever thinking in the moment? Are you ever consciously having a narrative in your head? You're not, because you're in the flow. You know exactly what you're doing. It automatically just happens. When you're walking down the street or you're playing a sport that you've been playing for a while, it automatically happens. So what we need to do is we need to give our conscious brain something to focus on so it is distracted, so the automatic mind can just do what it knows how to do. The more interference we have from the conscious mind, the worse we will perform. So here's what I did to fix this problem. The first thing is get enough repetitions before you get on. Say the words out loud enough times, because then it'll sit in your muscle memory. Your brain will know how to talk about those things because you've done it so many times. Never step on stage without ever having said the words out loud. It's like you're backstage and there's 100,000 people in the audience and you write a song backstage and say, okay, I'm just going to step in front of the audience and sing it. How well will you do? You'll do a terrible job just because you don't know where to go up, where to go down, where to go loud, where to go soft, what to focus on, what not to focus on. This will come from rehearsing and repetition. Now that you've done the repetition, a lot of people, even though they've prepared a lot, they still don't know how to focus on the right thing. Right before the presentation, they'll focus on all the negative things. No. Pick one thing to focus on that will distract you beforehand. So for me, I like to focus on my breath. I'm so consumed by focusing on my in and my out, and my ins and my outs, that I can't think of anything else. What you could also do is play a game on your phone. Another exercise I like to do is I like to wiggle my toes. So if you bring all of your attention right now to your toes, just your big toe, and you start wiggling them one at a time, right, left, right, left, right, left, and then you wiggle your pinky on the right foot, and then the pinky on the left foot, then the pinky on the right foot, and then the pinky on the left foot, you'll realize while you were doing that, you weren't really thinking about anything else because you were so focused on that. So while I'm sitting waiting for my presentation, I'm just distracting my mind. I'm doing something consciously, so my conscious mind is distracted. They'll call my name. Oh, okay, it's my turn. I'll walk up there, and in flow state, I'll just start speaking. The benefit of this is my mind just does not feel a lot of anxiety because it's so distracted. Now, you know what to do beforehand. Here's what you do when you're on stage. You're on stage, give yourself one thing to focus on. For me, my focus tends to be either my audience or it tends to be my body. I move my hands a lot. And when I'm moving my hands, I'm in the flow. I'm so distracted by all the movements. I'm looking at people and how they respond, how they move around, what they do when I say certain things. I'm so distracted by it that I just don't have time to be nervous. That really helps me speak from the automatic brain and say all the things that I know already. Now, some other things you can focus on, if you have some people in the audience that you like, you can look at them That makes you comfortable. You can also focus on your words. So every single word that is coming out of your mouth, if you just bring all of your focus to those words, you'll be so focused on how your mouth is moving and how the words are coming out that you just can't focus on anything else. This really is the key. When you focus and keep the conscious mind distracted, it allows you to operate from a place where all the knowledge, all the experience is stored, the automatic brain. Now, what's going to happen is while you're doing this, as you're speaking articulately, you will get distracted. Someone's checking their phone, someone's walking outside, someone's phone rings, and then all of a sudden, you're back in your conscious brain. You're thinking, oh, what time is it? Am I doing well? Are people enjoying themselves? What is happening? This is where you need to train yourself to bring yourself back. Hey, I'm in my conscious mind. Let me bring myself back. Let me go back to focusing on the people. Let me go back to focusing on my words, my body. And before you know it, you're back in flow state. So when you are doing a good job, you are not thinking. If you are thinking, you know you're in the wrong part of the brain. You already have the skill set. The only thing you need to operate that skill set under pressure is to use focus to distract the conscious mind so you can do what you already know how to do. If you'd like more information about this subject, I highly recommend reading this book. It's called This Is Your Brain on Sports. Dr. Alan Goldberg is someone who's consulted me and he is amazing. And the other book you can read is The Inner Game of Tennis. These two books go in a lot more detail than I did today, but this is how you can articulate your thoughts under pressure.